Hello everyone, this is a basic tutorial on how to do basic eyebrow block and drag foundation, and we're going to call this drag for the lazy person because what I try to do is eliminate as many unnecessary steps as possible. There are a number of ways to block the brows, and as you can see I don't have the easiest brows in the world to block because the angle of my orbital bone kind of juts up right here at a very sharp angle. Now, there are guys that have brows that are a little bit higher and have a more gentle angle, but I have what I would almost call a Neanderthal forehead. I would say that in a complimentary way. There's evidence that Neanderthals mated with Cro-Magnons, so we're probably all descended. But anyways, we're going to talk about some very simple techniques. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to do a very quick basic eyebrow block. What we're going to do is take some nose and scar wax and a cigarette lighter, and we're going to use generally a spatula or a small spoon to heat it, but this is just a little bit of extra test material I put aside so I can directly take the lighter and hold it under this stash because I'm only use it for teaching and for building some fun structures. So here is our nose and scar wax, and so we're going to start, we just sort of pull the eyebrows back and kind of groom them a little bit if there's stray hairs. You don't have to worry about that too much. And then what we're going to do is just hold the lighter under the nose and scar wax just a little bit. Now if this was on a spoon, you'd hold it under the teaspoon. Just a little bit under, about 4 to 6 inches under, and that's going to give you a little bit of semi-liquid wax. And then you're just going to take it and you're just going to, with your fingertips, do one streak. And you want to make sure the consistency is right. There's a trick to everything. And the trick to this technique is making sure the consistency is almost liquid, but not so hot you burn yourself. So you're going to cool it on your hands a little bit. And then we're just going to take it and we're just going to pull this material over the brow. Of course, when you're making a video, you get your silliest results. I usually don't get that bit under there, but I'm multitasking between the mirror and the screen. And as you can see at this point, with no spirit gum, with no glue, with nothing, that brow is now blocked out. We just move that over until the material dries. Now I used a little bit too much, so we want to avoid a kind of Frankenstein brow on the side. When I learned this at makeup school, they had us with spatulas working spirit gum first and then bringing everything up with spirit gum and attaching it. And then they had us with a palette knife just sort of coming up over top, and of course that produced, for an eyebrow shape like mine, which is not drag friendly, a kind of an over-compensated Frankenstein brow. Now we're just going to hold this under a little section again and get this semi-liquid. We don't want to burn it. Again, we want to keep a couple inches away. And we're just going to take some of this material, make sure it's fairly dry, and we're going to again just take this over this brow, and using firm pressure we're going to smear it over the brow. Okay, we just take it over a couple times like this. If we have a spot like this, don't worry about it. By the time this wax dries, that will be set. And now your brows are blocked with wax with no dry time, and we've got the hairs pasted down. And that is just so much easier than almost everything I've learned along the way about doing brow blocking with spirit gum and glue sticks and what have you. Another myth that's out there, again, this is for brows like mine. I have difficult brows to block. Some people don't, and they can do anything and it will probably work. The next thing I'm going to do is just take a little bit of this Mayron Pan Stick foundation. Should be as close to your own skin tone as possible, but I just grabbed one here for the purposes of teaching. And I'm going to mash a little bit onto a palette, a camping mirror plate. And then we're just going to take some of this foundation and load it onto the sponge, and then we're just going to work it over the brow. And you may need to use an extra hit of this to get good consistency. Again, we're just going to take our foundation here, load it, and just load it over top of the brow. And that is virtually blocked. See how much block we get right there? And then of course we can go to the other side, add a little more foundation to the palette, mash it out, make it nice and consistent. And then we're just going to take this and we're just going to run our sponge through it, make sure that there's no lumps in it, etc. And then we're just going to smear from the inside out a couple of times. And then we're going to do a second layer. We're going to smear a little foundation out on the palette. And again, just take our sponge and load it. You can do this with fingers too, but this stage is so important because and bang, bang, bang. And our brow is pretty much blocked there. Sometimes I struggle a little bit with one of the brows. I have experimented with using concealer over top of it, and really concealer just causes a whole new set of problems because the concealer adheres onto the nose and scar wax, and then you try to powder it down, but now you're trying to put foundation over powdered concealer, and I hope this is holding up in video as good as it looks in life here. But I've got a pretty good brow block. I'll try to step back a little bit to show you what the distance effect would be. And there we go. I've got a pretty good brow block. Now anything that remains after that, I'm going to do the brows on top after that, etc. And then I can incorporate this into the crease. But there you have it, a very, very quick brow blocking technique, only using 2 products, nose and scar wax with a cigarette lighter and some Mayron pan stick, and our brows are blocked and good to go. We'll draw some eyebrows in a next video, but I wanted to show that tip to you. You would then take this and powder it. I'm just going to use a powder brush here, and later when I'm finished the makeup and I'm really sure that everything's set the way I like, I can take a powder puff and I can really press it in and lock it in for stage. But at this point, everything is so fragile with the brow, especially mine, which just wonk out on me so easily. I'm just going to hit a little bit of powder just with the powder brush. And as you can see, those things are pretty nicely blocked, and then I can redraw my new brow. So there's a great little tip for you. Have some fun with it, and we'll talk about brows later on. Cheers.